what is really nature-based solutions, because it sounds from a name very broad. The other city governor also have seen different cases, and they have to select the best possibility for their city. So it's often not so easy, actually.
It is. You're absolutely right. But don't forget that the Chinese, they have a huge experience in city renaturing through this in research, like these sponge cities. Deploy, the concept of nature-based solutions in reality. That means that this to encourage the authorities to monitor the multi-beneficial contribution of the nature-based solutions. It's true that you need encouragement from above. It has to be a change in the culture of the authorities, if you like, to look at the overall picture, to look at the system as overall, and not simply to their particular administrative competence.
But it's difficult. So what is your concrete measures to achieve this?
What we can do is simply we fund a significant part of the investments that they are needed, and that is the incentive for the cities to come forward, in deploying a scheme. But from there on, if they want to upscale this scheme, if they want to go for an ambitious target, if you want other cities to buy into this process of renaturing, that is again something that is beyond our control. It's up to the cities themselves to be convinced and act solutions.
Can I have the quantity of the carbon emission cuts from these measurements?
Those solutions are always in the local context, because it depends on many, many different things. So I think that there will never be a case where you could use a very simplistic parameter, a coefficient, and say you can do something. We provide paradigms, how city X, Copenhagen, for example, that they have a very good using nature-based solutions, for mitigation of the flooding in the city, how they have done that. It doesn't mean that Bristol can do exactly the same thing.
But can it be counted as part of the national target? Does it count?
It can count part of the city planning.
It can be counted?
Yes, it can be counted.
For example, as part of the governor mayor's targets?
Yes, the governor mayors, this is what they do. They climate adapt, for example, where they have many, many examples of the different cities. What is their city carbon adaptation strategy, for example? Yeah. And then they learn from each other. That is the best way. So through exchanges of practices, through good lessons as well as bad lessons. This is the only way to go forward, because we are not going to give any ideal solution for their local context. The solution has to be always customized to the local context, to the local stakes.
Yeah.
There are different issues at stake.
It needs a little bit more look at the local levels, what are really happening, because one side you have the nature-based solutions, which is an interesting concept. It's a controversial but interesting concept. But on the other side, there are the local talks, there are the local solutions. When it comes to a smaller issue, how nature-based solutions can be more workable and be a successful business model, and relating to the climate action, of course. With all these water tensions and over-urbanization, the lacking green and blue infrastructure in China, boating is a very good business model. It's a very good business, because the cities are very dense. People need the more leisure on water, and it's still, from policy side, is still not really well developed in China. So the boating industry in Europe, very profound system with regulations and also a lot of traffic and nature-based solutions and green infrastructures, blue-green infrastructures, as information systems. They can learn a lot from there.
Yeah.
So
what you said before, how to quantify, for example, the economic returns to investments, etc. Well, many of the cities, for example, that they were regenerated by adding a green, you see that they become the pole of attraction for new business to come through, because new business, they want also a nice working environment for their staff. Then they become pole of attraction for tourism. But then again, the to put a figure on the economic activities that have been created because of this renaturing is difficult, because you have a lot of kiosks, you have a lot of restaurants, you have a lot of cafes, you have a lot of... so do you see, a lot of activities created because of this regeneration, but how much exactly is that? Figure to estimate.
I know.
But look at the green cities, for example, that, Victoria, I don't know whether Victoria in Spain, there are places to visit, the tourism. So it does create interest, places that they are deprived places, in the cities. All of a sudden, because of this regeneration, the value of the property becomes very, very high, and that, of course, it has a lot of gentrification effects. Not everything is positive. Then you force somehow the poor people that they were living there to. So, there are many, many trade-offs that you have to consider when you do things. And so you need a much more comprehensive, integrated planning to do that. But, we cannot do anything more than that. But the fact that there is a lot of response from the cities, that makes us feel, because we have already 72 cities involved. Out of the cities, we had about 45 proposals, and finally 4 were funded. We hope that their engagement will not be motivated only through EU providing funding to them.
As you know, I would like to see the cities could be better communicating each other with practical solutions. For example, I'm now working with ecotourism routes on Nautic in Italy, and those routes should be facilitated with these knowledges you have. Then they can learn, the tourists and the visitors for the city, for example Venice, better what the city is doing than earlier, because then you can tell the people who are working the tourism business, for example, and this can be easily understood, not really too complex, but that people can understand even in a moving situation. That could maximize understanding, and there are a lot of cases already being done to collect these cases being done in different umbrellas, and that's already very useful for cities.
No, I fully agree, but that's why we have already developed 22 case studies from 22 cities that they were part of past projects where they have deployed nature-based solutions, and then we had a group of experts themselves that they have established contacts with the authorities in order to come up with a convincing narrative, a convincing way to sell how they have deployed this city renaturing. That is available in Oplan now, this operation platform that has been developed, that is, so it's publicly accessible. And then we will continue building case studies, with new scientific evidence that will come through, trying to come with as many as possible, because that is the only way, to come up with a lot of case studies, but as you said, described in an easily digestible way.
Yes, I have seen many these information. Most of them, it does not show the business model. How much did it cost, and how to bridge the gaps, or there could be crowdfunding for some actions on community levels. Business models, this is so needed.
We try to give different paradigms fitting to different contexts, and then from there on, the other city authority, they will have to pick the cherry that fits best to their cake.
Okay, can we see these cherries and the paradigms as can be understood by the other municipalities?
Yes, this first of all, it's a new activity. We have started funding, if you like, the first demonstration projects. Demonstration, that means that acting on the ground and not simply laboratory studies. So that was the first call was in 2016. So the first 4 demonstration projects have started about a month ago, beginning of June, if I'm not mistaken. Evidence of systemic deployment of nature-based solutions will be there in about 3 or 4 years from now. So it's not there. But of course, there is a lot of evidence, from other research projects where they do deploy nature-based solutions. For example, Lisbon, they have a lot of paradigms what they have done.
There are actually already a lot of things have been done
No,
in other names.
Yes, exactly. Many thanks.
Thanks.